right, we are live. Good morning, everyone. So I got Ned Talks here, Ariel's here, and Carla is hopping back in. So she's having a little technical difficulty. So let's see. I see only camera again. Hold on. Let me see if your audio is working.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear you. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I could see and hear you. You just couldn't see and hear me.
No,
so
yeah,
here
a
we
little
are.
tricky. Yeah, perfect. So, Ariel, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience?
Hey everyone, my name is Ariel. I'm a real estate investor based out in Tampa, Florida, mostly focused on turnkey buy and hold rentals via house hacking. And right now I'm focused on creative finance.
Perfect. So this topic is Carla kind of brought it up to me because she was kind of interested in tools, that people are using in investing, whether it's bookkeeping, lending products, even organization. And I just thought Ariel was a perfect fit because she has a product that also helps you kind of find properties and look at deals. But Ned, is there any type of products and tools that you're using out there that's helping you in this journey?
I use if I'm trying to rough hand something, I use this app called Deal Check. But I mean, typically, if I'm on a deep dive, I like every time I look at something, I rebuild manually a spreadsheet, and I prefer the manual process because I just feel like I get to know the numbers better. But I do like apps and some software and stuff just as a way to see if something sticks out before I dive deeper. It's a good way to filter through a lot of junk because there is a lot of junk as far as listings are concerned, at least in my area.
Yeah. So Ariel, before we get into your product, I mean, is there any tools that you use like for basic, bookkeeping, to run, calculations and other like investment type of things you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a doc that I can share here that has like a quick cheat sheet of everything. Let me drop it in the chat here. Let me know if this is the correct chat.
That's the private chat. Is that?
How do I drop it in?
This is all new to me for this part. Are you able to?
Oh, there it is. I was still looking for the actual chat. There it is.
Another way to do it sometimes is to log on to the stream with your phone and just put it in the comments or something like that. I'll do that sometimes.
I should be able to.
You want me to share my screen on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect.
And if anyone, I put all their channels links in the comments to go check them out. I already has a YouTube channel. Ned and Carla's I have her X link up there.
Perfect. So for those that don't know me, my background is tech heavy. I'm a data scientist, so think about spreadsheets, but tens of hundreds of them and millions of records. With that, I am a tool junkie. So I actually do have a spreadsheet of the main tools that I look at that are all free here. So some macroeconomic indicators like job employment, interest rates, where those all come from. And then some microeconomic stats. One of my favorites that's actually a little bit hard to get to for some reason, they used to have it like readily available, is using Redfin's market insights. So if I go to Google and search my market, so I'm going to put Redfin Tampa market insights.
Did you hit the share screen? Because I don't, I'm trying to.
I did. I see it underneath my face. But not, are you able to see it? No.
I don't see it. I don't see your screen.
I don't see it either.
Usually it pops up to me saying share screen, and then I click on it, and then it.
Okay.  'Let's try again.
Oh, here you go. Here.
Okay.
There you go. 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 There we go.
Cool. So
Now I
little
see it.
this was my little cheat sheet that I put together, macroeconomic, microeconomic stats. And then one of my favorites, kind of all-in-one tool to analyze a market, is using Redfin's housing market data. So you could type in your county, your zip code, or your city, and they'll have information on trends, like median sale price. So you could start to see if an area is cooling off or if it's still pretty hot, which they also have a little indicator there as well. They have information on sale to list price, so you could see if there's a lot of price drops happening or if it's going over market. And you could even get information on migration trends too. So that's one of my favorite little cheat sheets. And then you could see a lot of people moving to Tampa are from different areas of the country, West, East Coast. But those actually moving out of Tampa are centrally like staying within the region or in the Southeast, which is pretty interesting as well.
I think you and Ned are gonna challenge with data and spreadsheets. Because Ned had a spreadsheet for, I don't know, well, we brought it up a few times about his dating spreadsheet.
What was the criteria there?
There was a lot. There was a pretty long decision tree.
Yeah. So
I'm
Carla,
a
any
spreadsheet
questions?
junkie too.
Yeah. So you're like a little bit, I mean, you're in real estate, but you're more just finance in general too, right? So your top
In
your
general,
background.
yes. I have real estate in myself, but I'm a contract CFO of sorts for a boutique type of clients. I have just a small list of clients, and some of them are full-time real estate investors. So I get to see their side of the whole acquisition and selling process and their decision to renovate, to not renovate, to go short-term, to go long-term. And I'm intricately involved in all of that process. And I'm a spreadsheet junkie too, but the part that I participate in is bottom line. We see a lot of people bragging about their revenue and their doors and all that, but I'm interested in what are you netting out of this, and what are the tax consequences for it. So I work sort of as an in-between person between my clients who are too busy to deal with their books and their tax attorneys and tax CPAs. And so I'm sort of the middleman. It just helps keep everything in order so that they can do their tax returns when the time comes. And then also I've managed short-term rentals since about 2018, just as a side gig of sorts, as a co-host on quite a few listings. So I kind of have the insider information on that. But I do. I'm a spreadsheet junkie, so I'm constantly crunching occupancy and average daily rates and that sort of thing on the short-term rentals, and analyzing profit and loss.
Well, before we move on, I want to give a shout out to Postal Nerds for always stopping by. So I put his YouTube channel in the comments. He has a cool YouTube channel. He's going to be retiring soon from the Postal Service, but he's shooting videos of small post offices in his area. So he's in Texas right now, but he's probably going to be traveling and putting more video out there. We also got Trade Better 99 here, Casual Kiss Fan, and Dan and Vin, I believe, and Aspen Family Fun. So thanks for stopping by. I think they're all interested. I think that's the biggest thing. We're all looking for different tools to help us along in our journey. So for like Carla, is there any tools that you're using right now from the finance side?
From the finance side, I'm a hardcore QuickBooks user. It's not perfect. There's a lot of people complain about it, but it's the standard of the industry in terms of the software that's used the most. For short-term rental integration, we use HostAway, which integrates Airbnb and VRBO and Booking.com and all of that. But I want to give a shout out to some software that I just started using a few months ago. It's been around a long time, and it's just for me personally, as a business owner and as a content creator, it has revolutionized my life, and that's Notion. Do y'all use Notion for organization?
It's incredible.
I was going to bring that up. So one of these groups I'm a part of now, they're using Notion, and I'm still trying to navigate around it. So like, how would you explain Notion like to someone? I'm still trying to figure it out. That's like, what's the easiest way to explain what Notion is?
You want to give it a stab?
Yeah, I think it's just an all-in-one platform for documentation, team tracking, almost like Google Docs, but on steroids.
Yes, on steroids. And somebody asked me that question the other day, and I just stumbled all over myself trying to describe it. And I think the best thing about it is it's not just like Google Docs and Google Drive, for instance. It captures your spreadsheets, it holds your photos, it holds your documents. But Notion holds anything and everything. It holds video clips, it holds bookmarks, it will hold entire videos, it will hold all of your daily tasks. It's just anything and everything you can put on there. So previously, I was an old school, like back of the envelope person. Like when an idea crossed my mind, I would grab anything in my reach to write an idea on. Sometimes I would put it in Google Keep, or sometimes I would text it to myself, or sometimes I would email it to myself. I had running list of things to do on every device and every app that is available. I tried it all, and nothing would do everything for me until I found Notion. And it will do it. My whole life is in Notion right now. If that thing crashes, I'm burned. You know, everything is in Notion.
Well, before we move on, I want to give a shout out to Joe Farrow. I put his YouTube channel. He has a cool podcast out there, but he always gets mad because I never promote his and I promote everyone else's. But I put his in there. He's always helping me out, doing lives with me. So go check him out. But yeah, so Ariel, there's a question for you from TradeBetter99. He says, as a fellow data scientist, what have been the top 3 independent variables you look for when buying a property?
Yeah, great question. And for myself, I'll take a step back. Besides just looking at the property, for me, I really care about location. So my investment strategy is buy and hold for at least 10 years. So I look for areas that are maybe C+, B-, have the potential to become a B+ A when we talk about neighborhood grades. So looking at locations of properties is important, and specifically median household income, how that has changed over the last 3 years, I like to see. As well, looking at vacancy and ownership as well. So the reason why ownership is really important is back when I was first investing, my strategy was to be near train lines so that people could go into New York City pretty quickly. But a lot of these towns by the train lines had great cash flow, but were very tenant heavy. And you saw that where you would go through the streets, there would be trash on the streets, a lot of the grass wasn't maintained, and there really wasn't that community feel. So that's why I typically look for ownership ratio of 60% at least when investing in an area. And that's what helps me determine the location. And then from there, I dive more into the property.
What about you, Ned? Because I think this can relate to you also, like independent variables that you use.
I initially kind of start, well, I don't really do anything remote. So I kind of do a lot off of just gut feel, how the neighborhood feels to me. And then I'll go and look at the data for the area. But I mean, I'm a little more brute force / like I'm an oil and gas guy. So for me, looking at fields and just, I mean, we'll look at a field sometimes. I mean, one of the leases we had a little while back, or one of the operations we had a little while back was 22,000 leases. So when we're looking at an area, I'm trying to say, all right, well, where am I going to see the most production? So, you know, towards the center of the field, you might have more thickness. Those wells might produce more. But so anyway, I went through and looked at all the neighborhoods in the greater New Orleans area. And I kind of just said, all right, well, what's the gross rent multiplier on a block by block basis? And then just went through and made a grid of the whole area. And then whenever anything popped up in the MLS that was outside of those metrics, I'd say, okay, that's interesting. Let's go look at more detail on that. So I would find metrics that I could easily make across a map, like a large area. And then I would just look for outliers. And I would do the same thing for price per square foot, since I found most of my best deals come from realtors who just put in typos in their listings. So price per square foot, if something's one of my best deals ever was just because it was 400% the price per square foot. So no one was putting offers in on it. Turned out it was 4 houses on one lot, but they priced it for the price of the square footage of one house. So you get outliers and stuff like that. But I mean, in New Orleans, we've got 1 million people in the greater New Orleans area. So all it takes is a couple miss listings per month, and a few of those are going to be in the buyer's favor, not the seller's. So that's where I've found most of my more home run type deals. But it's never been a specific metric because I'm kind of a data nerd. So I'm always looking for different ways to look at the market to try and find outliers, whether that's in price per square foot, gross rent multiplier, which really doesn't mean much. It's just a metric. I'm trying to find stuff that doesn't look right. I'm not using that to find specific deals. I'm just using it to come through the thousands and thousands of listings to find stuff to reduce the number of properties that I need to look at. So,
and
I don't know.
Your boy Radion's here. Landlord Odyssey has stopped by, so I think he's coming from your channel. I see paired, but I popped his YouTube channel also in the comments. And then this might be actually a good time, Ariel, if you think coffee closures could help maybe dabble in this. Here's a question. Let's see. What's the best way for you to determine ARV of a property? He's in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about from the data side, but definitely if any of you have done fix and flips before, would love to hear a little bit more on the tangible side of it. So for ARV, looking at properties that are comparable, so similar bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage to the subject property that you're looking at. And then also looking at other attributes that could help you determine, has the property you're trying to compare against, has it been recently remodeled? So you could see what the value would be after you do your repairs. So ways we do this is looking at the description of a property, as well as images and how recently it's sold. So for example, if you are looking at a property that's listed at 200 grand and you're trying to get the ARV price, one of those comps may be 203 grand. And if you actually dive into it manually, you'll see, oh, that property is similar, doesn't have any newer fixes, the kitchen isn't remodeled. But if you try to do it from a data approach, you can look to see, oh, this property was not recently bought and sold within, say, a 6-month time period by an LLC, which would help you to know that it was a fix and flip. So from there, we're able to use that type of data to cancel out those properties that wouldn't be deemed an ARV. But then there's also other attributes that we look into, like how about the description of the property. So if the property says quartz countertops or recently remodeled bedroom or bathroom, that helps to know as well that that property has been remodeled. So now we're starting to narrow down all these comps of maybe lists of 100 for an area down to maybe a select 10 to 15. And then from there, being able to attribute which properties have the best ARV based on different parts of the property becomes important. So the kitchen, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, backyard, things like that. So it's a bit complicated to fully resolve the ARV estimate with data. We can get pretty close, but ultimately walking through the floors of a property and then going through all of the images that you see for those comps, as well as the locations of them, is what really determines the actual estimate.
Are you able to share your screen again on the? Do you have the coffee closers up now, or sorry.
Oh, sure, I could share it.
Yeah.
So let me pull up a property here.
I'm not seeing it again.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, hold on. Let me press. There we go. Okay, so yeah.
Cool.
So I've played around with this, and this is a cool software. I mean, it very makes everything very streamlined, a lot easier, and I love that it emails you properties after, and it comes up daily if something hits your buy box. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I'll take a little bit of a step back, like why this is even built, who does it serve? So when I first started investing, I was W-2 worker working in New York City, commuting 2 hours each way per day. So my morning started at 4:45. I get home at 7 p.m. And then I would try to analyze properties based on what I heard from other investors and how to do it. So pulling information from Zillow, cross-referencing that with Rentometer, then getting data from the US Census. This would take me a lot of time to do. And frankly, I didn't have that time. So what I did was I built different mini tools to help me throughout my process to automatically pull the data all into one place. After a little bit of time showing some of my processes on YouTube, I decided with 2 other co-founders that it would be a great opportunity to build this ourselves so that it could scale, not just for certain parts of the deal flow, but for the entire analysis as well. A lot of the problems that I saw with softwares that I tried to use is that the person who's developing it is usually someone out of the country. They're not a real estate investor. They're a software engineer that maybe has no idea how real estate works. What's different is that this is actually built by myself. So developing it with Python, as well as 2 other folks who are also developers too. So with that, what we look to do is basically eliminate, and a lot of you here maybe resonate when you see this particular image of having a bunch of different tabs open when just trying to analyze a single deal. You spend maybe 10 minutes all to find out that deal doesn't even work. So what we do is we look at the best areas to invest in, the best properties for that given strategy. So using AI and data science here. And then lastly, looking at really as accurate as we can get with comps. So the way it works is we do have a free trial system that has top 50 cities in the US. We do support nationwide. However, just for the free trial, we have a select few cities you can browse through and also go between different markets, like best for cash flow, best for value add, which we've calculated on the back end. Then for those markets, I have the privilege of being a developer, so I have a lot of different markets here, but usually you just have a couple. Mine main one is Tampa, Florida, which is where I reside. And we have a similar view to what you'd see, say, on Zillow, because we didn't want to pull away from the typical workflow an investor has, especially a W-2 investor that's just trying to get their first properties and do it in a quick manner. So you see here on the left-hand side are properties, and the right-hand side is a map. What's different than what you would see on Zillow is that Zillow's intent is not for investors. It's for folks who are maybe newlyweds getting their first property. So this is now coming from the investor perspective where we have cash on cash for each property. That's in Tampa, Florida, which right now is about 1,550 listings, including for sale by owner. And then we have on the map on the right-hand side, grade from A to D. So those that aren't familiar with neighborhood grades, A is more luxury, areas that have a lot of wealth, and then D is more so those areas that need revitalization. And every grade could work. It just depends on your strategy and what that is. But I did mention a little bit earlier, my strategy is buy and hold long time. I want to see what I used to call like the next Hoboken. So Hoboken's a city right outside of New York City, New Jersey, that no one wanted to touch in the 90s, but now, it's one of the most affluent areas in New Jersey. So with that, I look for mostly C+, B- areas where median household income is starting to increase. Maybe more people are coming in, there's more breweries, there's more yoga studios. However, it's not as affluent with having maybe newer builds like other neighborhoods. So this data is made up by several different components, one of them being census data. So you'll hear time and time again, some of the main things to look at is vacancy rates, median household income, employment rates. Those are all things that we consider. And we look at this in comparison to the state as well, so you could see these averages. But the main problem with US Census data, because these maps, you could find these maps anywhere with US Census data, is that it's usually outdated by 2 years, which real estate, even though we're not like the stock market that moves many times within a day. We do have a lot of changes, month to month potentially. So looking at data 2 years ago could really put you at a disadvantage of finding
So right
the
there,
next
actually,
up-and-coming
trade better
area.
99, that might fit right into his
So what
question.
we
He's kind of
do,
asking, what is the most
not
frustrating types of data to find while reviewing a property?
definitely the census data is up there. It's just the way that it's structured. It's really hard to get into a spreadsheet. I actually do have a free tool that you could select your county and get this level of detail into a spreadsheet. And that's point number 2. When it comes to anything for property, so much data available that's free is all at like county or zip code level. Now, you could tell me like Hillsborough County, which is where this is a great area to invest in, but that's not going to help me at all as a real estate investor because I need to know the locality, like what streets, what blocks, what smaller sub neighborhoods I should be
Just
investing
putting it
in.
out there too. I put Coffee Closer's link in the comments to go check it out if you want to take advantage of the free trial and play around with it and test your market out and see what you got going on there.
Great. Yeah, I can dive into a little bit more. So this map, to get that real-time view, we're also looking at market data. So how the market has moved just within maybe 10 blocks or so of how properties have sold, cash flow, ARV, and more. So this area particularly, I'm a Tampa native, so I know a little bit more about it. What's interesting is that we have this tag which says recent new build growth. And if you look down here, the median construction year of what's been selling is 2021 for $1.6 million, which that's pretty high. And I know, being a local, that this area is by the water, it's close to downtown, and they've been demolishing 1940s homes in favor of these $1 million homes by the water. So in this scenario, if you only looked at census data, you would think, okay, this area is pretty good, 84K median household income. But once you dive into the market stats, you can then know. And let me ask you guys, do you think someone who makes, or a household that makes 84K
They do
a
in
year
Hawaii.
is
They
going to
think they
afford a
do.
$1.6 million home? Yeah, maybe in Hawaii, not in Tampa yet. So this kind of data now, having that market stats gives us that real-time view to really understand how a market is moving, and not waiting for that census data that
It
would
would
come
be
out in
interesting to see
2024
how
and likely in
much
2026.
the way someone handles their taxes affects that data. Because on paper, a lot of years, I'll look like I make less than that.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Great. Any questions on the map before I move on to
I think this
the
is great.
strategies?
This is super, helpful, I think. Like you said, that 500 tabs open, when you're first trying to review properties and find markets to invest in. You're all over the place.
Yeah, to have an aggregate of all this data is mind-blowing to me. It's fabulous.
Thank you. And the best part is that this has been hand in hand. Like, there's not probably a day that goes by that we're not talking to our existing customers, our network, the tech and real estate community as well, to get feedback on these new features and what we're doing. So it's not like we're developing in a hole, coming out later and saying, all right, guys, this is what a neighborhood grade map should be. It's really, I would say, like half of it has been a lot of feedback that has helped. One of the best feedback points we got was to actually segment these properties based on strategies. So initially, we just had it as turnkey buy and hold, which for me, that's my bread and butter. I don't want to fix up a property. I just want to find something that cash flows, get a tenant in, and watch my appreciation grow. So we do this by looking at property descriptions as well as some other attributes using AI so that we can determine if a property needs fixing up or not, which helps to really remove a lot of that junk that maybe your strategy wouldn't want to see. But for someone who is doing a BRRRR or fix or flip, we do have that mode where now we're showing those properties that need fixing up. And we also look at different characteristics. So for turnkey, long-term growth, may matter more than say a fix and flip, because you're going to be selling that pretty soon. So we weight these different properties, almost like when you go to Airbnb and you see rankings and ratings of which are the top ones based on cleanliness, based on location, and some other attributes. We basically take a similar approach, but we do it with properties. So say if you're looking for an Airbnb and you want to find one that's kind of secluded away, maybe in the mountains, it's going to have a different ranking than one that's right into the city. Or different type of formula that goes in the back end to show you those right properties. So we're basically doing that as well so that you could save time. And instead of looking at all 1,500 properties at Tampa in a spreadsheet, which you can do, but you could just kind of filter down based on your strategy and maybe look at the top 10. Cool. So I'll dive into the last piece, which is the property itself. And I'll click on this one here. So this we have listed as a top pick because if in our score that we have in our backend, it's listed that this property has a lot of potential as a turnkey property with its cash flow based on it not needing any fixes, as well as its location. So from here, what we try to do, and I always say, spreadsheets, can you fully replace them? Probably not, because you do want different levels of control, especially when you're under contract. But if you can have a calculator that helps you initially quickly see, can a deal work? I think that's what our idea was with this one. So we bring in each of the parts or components for a deal, like expenses and income, so you can quickly see how your numbers would change. For rent, we get information from Zillow rent estimate. We also look at the median zip code estimate. And Ned, I heard you said you use DealCheck. So DealCheck, they have a data company that's the same data called RentCast, which is amazing for rent comps. So we actually pull all the comps, which for Tampa is probably like 10,000 or so. And then we develop our own algorithm based on that data to get our own rental comps assessment. So from there, that's how we estimate a single rent price, which you could always change. So say if I wanted to be more conservative, I could change this and see my cash on cash change. But 6%, nothing to really write home about, especially since if I'm trying to decide, do I put my money in the stock market or real estate, I usually want to beat 7%. So what I can do here is start to toggle on asking price and see what I need to actually hit. So in this case, if I offer 375 on the property, that would bring me above to my target, which is 8%. And then here, you can also see costs, expenses. Maybe you want to be taking that conservative level as well. So you can actually go to your preferences, which I have here. And if you decided, I want to bump up that insurance because I keep hearing things about Florida, I want to assess that the insurance rate is going to be X percentage, you can override that here. And going forward, either just for Tampa or for all your markets, it will override all the algorithms to have that measured
Landlord
based
Odyssey
on your
says, nice tool. He's a software developer as well, but he really wants to work on a property management software. Is that something you folks are thinking about implementing into this as far as some kind of management type of information or anything?
Probably not for the near term, but a good one is Azibo, Azibo. They start off for free. I forget what their pricing plan is. Maybe if you have like multiple properties or if you're using them to like boost your rentals, but they do a really great job at having everything that you need to manage a rental, as well as like chatting with tenants, listing, taxes at the end of the year.
Azibo. Yeah, I haven't. I have an account there, but I never really dug deep into it.
I have a question. So in New Orleans, we have particularly dirty data sets. So, if you go on, I can't remember how to get to it, but I remember Zillow used to have you could go into their website and see the cities, and they were ranked as far as to how clean or how up to date their data sets were. So do y'all do that? Because this will probably work in Tampa, But in New Orleans, a lot of these software tend to lag behind so much on the data sets, and the data is so dirty that it's significantly less, let's just say, targeted.
Yes, 100%. So that's one of the main reasons why we don't use one data set only. So actually taking a step back, some of my more recent experience when I was in industry was working for Appfolio, which is a commercial real estate property software company. And I specifically was in charge of tenant screening accuracy. So making sure that we correctly are assigning the right criminal records and eviction records per person. We had a plethora of different data sources that we would use that would have different scraping bots, et cetera. So we realized that one data source may be really good in a particular county, another one may be bad, or the same one may be bad in a different county or a different state. So it was a lot of data aggregation of multiple sources and then deciding which one ranks better than the other based on data completeness to really make sure we data accuracy. So we take for coffee closers a very similar approach. Instead of just looking at Zillow or just looking at Real Estate API, which is one of our sources, we pull from about 6 different sources just for property data itself. And then from there, we're able to have a more confident analysis. But there are some times where, say for comps, I'll go down to, should close out of this. There are times that if it's a rural area, you may come to the comparables and you'll see that we have like 60% for similarity because it's just not that much great data. But whenever we have that as a case, we try to reflect that.
I have two questions.
Mindset also invest in New Orleans. He just says classic case of New Orleans being the exception to the rule.
Speaking of dirty data, in my opinion, Zillow is the absolute worst. Is that just me? And why? Why are their listings so outdated and never updated? I don't know how that works at all. I don't know how Zillow is built, but I just don't rely on it ever at all for anything because of the outdated listings.
Yeah, I guess it's also dependent on the area. So they do have a little cheat sheet on their page, like what is this estimate? It tells you how clean their data is per location. But I have noticed that they have a lot of missing data, especially for different areas. So if I go to Zillow here, I just type in Newark, New Jersey, which is a hub outside of New York. And if I go to multifamily, might not be this one to reset here. But there's instances where like so many properties are missing bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, all of that, which is why we don't use it as our main source. It's like one of the sources, but not main. Maybe it wasn't Newark, it was a different New Jersey area. But
I think
Daniel
here's
like one example.
With you, Carla. He said
where square footage.
Thanks, Daniel. I haven't seen you in here, bro. Thanks for stopping by.
So yeah, and usually I find if of all the free resources, Realtor being better than Redfin and Zillow in some areas.
That's why you got to use all three, everybody, or three, or I use them all. You got to have updates and notifications set for all your criteria on all of them, because they do not show the same properties, and some have more lag than others. It's crazy.
Agreed.
I didn't even know
have you
that was a
seen
thing. I'll have to check it out.
Microsoft Bings, by the way? Yeah, I actually saw this recently. I haven't dived too deep into it, but let me just see if I put in like houses for sale, Newark, New Jersey.
Huh.
Yeah, they have this whole like shop now, and then you could like dive into it. And I think they have like, yeah, basically a way to filter on price. I don't know why it's showing these. I probably reviewed it incorrectly, but I remember seeing that they had like
but talking about notifications also,
like
that's another cool feature about Coffee and Closers, right? Once you kind of enter your buy box, then you actually get notifications when something meets that criteria, right?
Exactly. So a big pain point that we saw investors have is, again, like, I'm limited on time. I need to know if a deal works, and I want to send it immediately to my agent if it does, so I could be one of the first to put an offer down. So what we do is we have a similar buy box like you would see on Redfin, Realtor, or Zillow, except we take it a little bit of a step further, so it's actually tailored to the investor. So things that we do that you can also get notifications on is looking to see if you can add a bedroom to the property. So for each region, we have a different formula that looks at square footage, bedrooms count, and some other attributes to see, may there be a possibility to add a bedroom because it looks like there's extra space. Maybe it's converting a dining room, etc. You could also filter on if you want to see just fixer-uppers or not. And then also based on your strategy and neighborhood grade. So you can really get granular, where if you just want to see C+ properties that are turnkey for maybe a house hack strategy, you could do that and have that auto send to your inbox, and then you could
Seriously,
forward
you
that
gotta make
directly
a
to your
dating
agent.
one for this. You need to come out with a. Let's see.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting how in general, like especially with AI, how that's came out to be more public since ChatGPT, the immediacy. And I think also probably pandemic has a thing in it as well. But like the immediacy of people want to be able to quickly analyze, quickly find, quickly
Well,
do
you know,
things
that's
is
another
so
good
much
thing
faster than
you
I feel
brought
like
up.
it
You
was
brought
4
up
years ago.
Bing, and I heard you talking about you prefer like Gemini over Chat GPT, I believe. Can you kind of dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say for the free version, and actually let me take a step back for those that may not be familiar with LLMs. Put simply, these are pieces of technology that are able to read in information across the entire web and then help you to answer questions to save you time. And also, you could even write articles with them, a lot of different tasks. So when it comes to trying to get like market summaries for free, I find Gemini to be pretty good. So actually, if I just type it in here, and maybe I'm looking to get a description for, or actually, I'll just keep it simple. Let's say, so, hey, Gemini, I want to learn more about Tampa market. What is Florida? What is new development, top employers, and I'll just leave it at that. And any other info you find interesting for a real estate investor, please include links. So this model is already trained on massive amounts of data. And I think it does a pretty good job at being able to quickly summarize some information on new development, employers, and more, so that you can at least like have an entry point of what you should start to look at and dive into deeper. So here it says market trends, talking about showing a shift towards a buyer's market, which with increased inventory, which is actually happening in Tampa. Still some growth. And this is one of the main reasons why I moved and invested in Tampa, was because of the MacDill Air Force Base, having a great plethora of tenants there. And they also have healthcare, information technology, new developments, and some other information. So yeah, I think it could be a great way just to get your foot in the door of learning about a market without spending hours just trying to search for the right article.
This is above my head, but Landlord Odyssey, as a programmer, Gemini was giving too many wrong answers to coding, but might be good for research. He uses ChatGPT mostly. Yeah, I don't do any coding, so, but definitely I've noticed, yeah, when I do use different ones, I do think Gemini provides some of the better, I guess, responses or useful responses. But as far as coding, yeah, that's above my. Oh, what about this one? From Mojo Mindset.
Yeah,
So for the X feature, that's X AI tool. I wonder if he'll get to this level AI database. Yeah, there's so many coming out now. I mean, like, how do you really
Possibly.
know which one to use? I guess.
heard it.
Go ahead, Ned.
I've heard a few programmers complain that a lot of the newer ones are less useful and less intelligent than the original ones because the way that their systems and the way that the programming works is more constrained as they've removed stuff like how to build a nuclear bomb has been removed, but in order to lobotomize it to where it can answer certain questions, it's made it less useful other places as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they can resolve that issue.
Yeah, and then before, I know some new features came out for coffee closers.
Agreed.
Correct, Ariel? I mean, I saw some posts and stuff. So what is the new things that have just come out?
Yes. So for the new things that came out, actually just taking a shift back to the original product, one of the major issues that we saw across cities is that even if we can automate trying to find the best properties for your given strategy, sometimes there's just not enough properties on market that even like meet your criteria at the current financing terms. So we know that in the last 4 years, we've seen a run up of interest rates, or more recently we have. And actually, if I go back into this little cheat sheet, we could see that interest rate increase. And if we look historically, I mean, interest rates were never as low as they were after 2020. So we may never see them come back to be that low. So if this is our new normal and our prices don't drop significantly, then we may not find great cash flowing deals on market. So what we have shifted to is looking at deals at a creative finance standpoint, both for seller finance and sub 2. So I pull it up here and let me get the correct link. Have you noticed that in your markets where there's just less deals?
Personally,
available?
I don't think I've seen less deals. I think most of the investors I know are just trying to figure out larger down payments.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the expected yield has gone down significantly, but the deals are still there, and whether or not they're good, it's been, especially in 4 units or less, seem stable as far as prices go. But the neighborhood kind of decides the price, and then you have to decide, okay, well, this neighborhood's going to yield half of what that one does because I've got to put double the down payment down now.
Yeah, kind of what Ariel mentioned earlier too, right? You know, the stock market, like where's a better place to put your money right now when you're getting this type of returns in the stock market? So I think that's what people are having that dilemma. And maybe that's why the market is also roaring too, right? Is because people are like, should I have this available capital and I can get 6% here, but I'll get this much in the market? And maybe that's what's propping up the market also.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, great. So now we're taking a little bit of a shift to also look at what deals would work for creative finance. Right now you're looking at seller finance, which we should have sub 2 ready tomorrow, if not Monday. So similar, we're looking at on-market properties. And the reason why is that we find, especially for our target customer, which is a W-2 worker, they don't want to spend all this time setting up a CRM system for off-market leads that have bad data for skip tracing, for phone numbers, emails, and they're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on dead leads. Whereas if you can make an on-market deal work, the seller has already raised their hand saying, hey, like I'm ready to sell, I'm interested. And that amount that you could save for an off-market deal versus like the marketing that you're spending could almost be the same exact as if you're going on market. But aside from convincing you on market, if I dive into one of these properties, and it looks like it was inherited, this is a free and clear property. We will now see a difference of our seller finance calculator. So it's now positioned so that you can analyze the deal based on seller financing. So you remove the bank, you're now financing through that particular owner of the property, and showing what's good for you as well as what's good for the seller in a clear view. And then from there, taking more of an automated approach to help you make that next step. So the next step here, if the numbers looked good, is that you would generate an offer. And we partnered with Offer REI. So another individual who's a developer as well as an investor who's done tons of creative finance deals. Specifically, he focuses a lot on lease options. So that just finished generating. Let's see if I could open it within Chrome.
I'm assuming this feature is not available in the free trial. Okay.
I don't believe so, but I could be wrong. So let me actually share the document itself.
There we go. I think Carla might be back, or no. I don't know what happened to her. I think her internet was giving her issues. So
great. So from here, within 5 seconds, you've had an offer generated, and the seller was originally asking for $215, but you see here $247, which someone may think like, how did you get to $247? So the idea is here that we're showing the terms of how the seller, how much money they would make based off of the interest and these creative finance terms that we're proposing. So from here, the seller's mindset would be like sparked, like, how do I get 247? And this is all laid out within a document, which is adjustable if you'd like. How does it work? Why is it good for the seller? Typical questions and answers, payment schedule. And the next step here is sending this offer letter out to either seller directly or to the agent. So if I actually dive back into the product here, so I'm going to share my screen one more time. Great. And then for send offer, so we have the SMS option, email, and then you can directly reach out to this individual. Or in this case, we're having you reach out directly to the agent, which agents are legally binded to show offers to whoever they're representing. So the hope here would be you receive a response, you can start negotiating and be able to show like, hey, this deal could work out in everyone's favor, get the terms that you want, and automatically be able to generate that offer and get into that conversation.
Think this is a great, like Mojo Mindset has a nice, what a fantastic way to raise the price ceiling up to the seller through education breakdown is very cool.
Yeah, I like that display, or I guess cover page you had there. That is a really, it's an eye catcher for sure. They'll be like, wait a minute, that's more than I'm asking.
Yeah, exactly. And this is all by experience. So Noah, he's a person behind Offer REI who we partnered with, and he's done many of these creative finance deals. And he's attested, like when you phrase it that way, you have the percentage of you converting on that deal just shoots up way more. Rather, if you're like lowballing,
who was that you got that idea from? Okay.
Offer REI, his name is Noel Nagel. He also, so his software, if you'd like to use it, say for sending out offer letters for 100 off-market deals, that could be generated in seconds with his software as well. So I know for some, maybe this is like a lot. I know the first time I heard about creative, a lot of it went over my head. So what we are doing is an actual community where we will be having weekly group coaching sessions, office hours, events, tutorials, everything that you would need in order to feel confident and get the feedback that you need from the community to nail your first creative deal. Because of the amount of deals that are on market, We are likely going to have some sort of cap per county because we don't want you competing against like 1,000 other investors for the same exact property and sending the same offers. What that number is will likely change by county, but the main factor here is that we want you to have a higher ratio of deals to close while also having a
Is
community
that
to support you
was
to do
that the
so.
date of the webinar you had coming up or the event you had coming up? I thought was it the 17th? Was it?
Yes, we have a webinar. We're going to fully go through a little bit more in detail of this product as well as the sub-2 component, which will be available by then.
18th.
And Noah will be also presenting then. So that's going to be July
Yeah,
18th
I don't
at
shoot.
7
I can't
p.m.
find.
free
If you have the link,
webinar
you
to
can put it
attend.
in the comments or anything. But yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, I saw it on the 18th. That's why.
Sure.
But yeah, I love playing. I mean, I think Ned would have way more fun playing around with this thing than. I mean, I love it, but I think you'll dig way deeper than I will.
Yeah, I mean, I look at data all day long, but I'm more of an analyst than I am a person that would create the data or, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, anything else? You guys want to discuss anything else? I mean, I want to pop onto my school community for Lance Lambert's
What
live
time you
today.
looking at
So,
shoot to do that for?
that one's coming up. It starts at 7, but I don't need to pop on right away. But I did want to catch in and show face. But
Gotcha. So 7
but-
for you is in the next 3 minutes.
yeah, but no rush. I mean, I'm not in it. It's just recorded, but yeah, I love all that. I mean, any other tools? Like definitely Notion. I might reach out, Ariel, to get more help, get some tutoring or something on that.
Ariel, I am curious. How much do you let the data drive, or do
Yeah,
you
of course.
more look like? Is it the vehicle by which you view getting to finding your deals, or is it just one of the tools in your toolbox that you help can guide your experience? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we see it as taking you down, say, from like 10,000 properties to 5, like really helping you with your data analysis up front. But I do believe that in order to actually like close on a deal and really run the numbers at the end, like you do have to walk the property. Data can get you 85% of the way, which is really useful and helps with speed. But that 15% is really important and why real estate is an exceptional domain because there is that human element to it. So I do believe that you should exercise
I
that
did have one
when you
question.
can
So I
towards the end of
pulled
the
up
deal.
one of my properties that I'm actually about to sell, and it came up as, I guess it thinks it's a duplex, and I was trying to figure out how to add more units to it to make the rent look right, but I couldn't figure it out. It's a fourplex.
How many units is it?
Sure.
The property? It's a fourplex. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
And you
I
probably
don't
type
have
it into
a
the quick report,
membership
right?
or
Just enter any property.
anything like that yet, and so it came up as a duplex.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free to shoot that property over. For our quick report, it doesn't run through any of like the sophisticated models that we have because we're not loading up all of the comps, all of the properties at once. We're just pinging different APIs to get as much information within 8 seconds. So
Yeah,
there
it gave
may
me a
be a
little
little bit
warning.
of
It
a
said
data
we were unable to
discrepancy when
detect
just
how
looking at
many
one-off
units this
properties.
multifamily house has since the property description is unclear. Which, yeah. So
Okay,
cool.
good. At least that part, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, any questions
Sure.
folks
Yeah.
have, just feel
Sign
free
up for the
to
webinar.
message me.
The
I'm
link's down
always
there
open to
in the
talk about
comments.
tools.
Go check out everyone's YouTube channels. Go subscribe. Yeah, we'll do this again. I mean, we'll dig deeper. But Ned, what about you, man? What you working on right now? Then before we wrap things up.
What am the mini split over here to the left of the screen right here broke and leaked all over the wall, so I have to pack up my whole studio, which I just set up, and I was about to get a background and then move it out while they do drywall work. I I don't want to get all that drywall dust, which never comes out. Y'all know that. on all my camera equipment and stuff. So I have to disassemble my whole studio. So I'm gonna be working out of somewhere else for maybe a couple of weeks, or hopefully less than that. But that's my current project, is fixing this thing.
Yeah, you just got it all set up too, man.
I mean, I'm not even set up yet. I still have like junk on the desk and like, you know. Yeah, thanks.
All right. So where can they find you, Ari? When you go, what
Best of
podcast
luck.
or what are you going to be doing next? I see you doing a lot of podcasts. That's why.
Yeah, recently had a podcast on Bigger Pockets, Rookie, talking about different neighborhoods how you could use data to decide what neighborhoods to invest in with some step-by-step guidelines. As well, you could follow me at Tech and Real Estate on YouTube, which the link's already in the chat. And always happy to discuss, so feel free to
Go
message
try
me
out that
directly
free
at
trial,
Perry
everyone.
Alferreira,
So go test it out.
analyticsarial.com.
Go play around with it. Especially you, Dennis. I know you're looking for properties. You just popped in, so go check it out and try it out, man. But yeah, thanks. We'll have everyone back on again, and we'll do this again. Bye,
I
everyone.
did have one quick question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
If I get the free trial or the paid version, because it looks like it's broken down by counties, and we've got parishes, which I guess are the same thing. The cities I look at are multiple counties, but if I'm looking at multiple areas, if I decide, hey, I'm not looking here anymore, is it easy to just say I'm not looking at this one next month, or does it immediately roll over and I can look at another place if I stop looking at one data set? Okay. All right. That was my curiosity.
Yeah, month to month, you could
Thank you.
switch the location.
All right. Thanks for doing this. We'll have